You all heard, even if you went to college, you probably heard of Moses. Moses had two sons, but they didn't succeed him. A man named Joshua, from a completely different Israelite tribe, succeeded Moses. Now, interestingly, Moses had a brother named Aaron. His son did succeed him as the high priest. Now, priesthood did go by blood, so that explains one reason. Nevertheless, why didn't Moses' sons, or one of his two, succeed him, whereas Aaron's son did succeed him? And this was the Bible's way of saying, you choose leaders by merit, not by blood. A radical change in human history. Fast forward to the modern era, a man named Lawrence E. Harrison wrote a book that I brought to your attention, about 20 years ago. Who Prospers? This man ultimately ended up at Tufts University. He was a major writer, and he was a mission head of USAID, the agency of the United States that brought aid all over the world. And he was the head in Latin America for decades, different countries of Latin America. So he wrote a book, Why Did North America Succeed So Much More Than Latin America? In every way that one measures success. Whether it was prosperity, which is somewhat significant, or democracy, which is somewhat significant. So politically, socially, you name it, North America way pulled ahead of Latin America, of South and Central America. So he asked why. And one of his major answers was that in North America, people were rewarded because of merit. They earned rewards. They were hired, they were paid more, they were honored. Whereas in Latin America, that is not the way people advanced by merit generally. It was usually by family. He called it familism, in fact. I remember the term well. And by other methods, you paid your way, you bribed your way, but you didn't advance by merit, and in North America, you advanced by merit. Fast forward to the very present moment, and you have the undermining of the single greatest reason for success, the success of North America, Canada and the United States specifically. A war on merit. It's a war on the bases, the biblical basis of the West, and it is a war on the meritocracy that is now called white supremacy. I was listening to Julie Hartman, this extraordinary young woman with whom I do a weekly podcast called Dennis and Julie. If you watch one, I know you will be hooked. It is extraordinary, if I may say. I've never co-hosted anything. She made an interesting point. Alan, you'll find this fascinating, I think. We think that the war on merit, we primarily think of it as hurting the people who work hard, which it does. There's an Asian student who got virtually perfect SAT scores, and 6 colleges rejected him. So it's a war on the people who work hard. That's what we think, which is accurate. But she made a very, one of these points you think, why didn't I think of that? It also says to the minority, there's no reason to work hard. Merit won't get you anywhere. It's actually a trauma for the society. The left is as I explained yesterday, the only way to understand the left is it just destroys what is good. It destroys everything. They only destroy. They build nothing. Liberals build, conservatives build, leftists destroy. The war on merit is a war on civilizational progress, which is fine with them. They don't care. The issue is to destroy. Those of you who are not interested in destroying but in conserving, that's called a conservative, don't understand the impulse in the human condition to destroy what is good. I don't. I admit it. But that is it. That is the answer to a question asked me 2 days ago in Romania, where I spoke in the Parliament building. And one of the questions was, can you explain leftism? And as I've often said, I think best under pressure. And here I was, brought around halfway around the world, well, actually almost around the world, from California. Better come up with a good answer, Dennis, because it's very difficult. None of you can actually answer the question, what is leftism for? Because there is no answer. The answer is, what is it against? Tell me, when it advocates that children be given drugs that can do terrible harm to them if they say that they are the other sex, what are they for? You don't know what they're for. Are they for kids becoming the other sex? They are just for destroying. In this case, the binary fact of human existence that we are only male or female, and that in fact you can't become the other. You can look it, but you don't become it. But this is of no consequence. The war on merit is the war on civilization. And when I came across this in a 3,000-year-old book, where God himself is the one to whom it is ascribed that he chooses the successor to Moses and it isn't one of his two sons, you begin the long, long battle to create a society based on merit. And how do you achieve merit? Through hard work. There is a war on hard work. Let us have a 4-day work week. Let us give people a universal basic income. Why should they have to work when we can give them the money to write poetry and to observe the glorious sunsets that may be in the area in which they live? The onslaught is so severe that it seems almost impossible to resist it. It is so manifold, it is so across the board. The EPA has just given $10 million to the University of Arizona to study climate change. You know how much more money there is for a scientist? You know how corrupting it is? In the whole world of climate science, the staggering amounts of money if you fight climate change.